what he's doing is aimed at a domestic audience and at the third term, which I think he will try to obtain.
Tessa Dunlop, Peter Hitchens and Michael Binyon with us here in the studio. Now, our next story, well, have a listen to this.
The odd occasion that I did have dealings with him, he was arrogant, he was rude, he was bumptious, and I don't take that from anybody, and I gave him as good as he tried to give me. I was once told by a colleague, well, speaking to him like that, you'll get fired. I said, no, he won't tell anybody, and bullies don't tell anybody. He's probably got, I think a lot of people will say, he's got his just desserts, but now he's moving to Sandringham. I think now it's time to leave him alone.
That was so good until the end when it kind of gave it away.
Yes.
Do you know who the topic of that conversation is? That's with, well, I'm not going to tell you it's with just yet. Tessa, you know, Peter Hitchens.
Yes, it was obvious, I'm afraid.
Yes.
How quickly did you rumble to it?
It took me quite a long time. I was thinking it was somebody completely different for a while.
Who did you think it was?
I thought it might have been Peter Mandelson, actually, but then I realised it wasn't.
Yes, he has managed to evade our festive roundup. Binners?
Yeah, I thought it was Trump, and I thought Sandringham would be rather good for him.
Tessa Dunlop, it was
Prince Andrew, who of course has a friend in common, or had a friend in common with Peter Mandelson in Epstein.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
Epstein, rather.
That was Dickie Arbiter, the late Queen Elizabeth's former press secretary. One of my more startling interviews of the year, just because he's normally so loyal to the royal family, and here he was calling Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as he's now known, a bully. Tessa, historical significance. This is your specialist topic, or one of them. How historically, when we write about the royal family, will the stripping of Andrew's titles feature as a major event?
I think that looking back retrospectively, this is the one thing that will tarnish the late Queen's reputation. That and the absolute lack of transparency and ballooning wealth of the royal family, which has been exposed partly because of Andrew's misdemeanours, digging his heels in, staying in the Royal Lodge. I think this is almost an inevitable flaw of a private family being also this extraordinary public institution, and it intersects through a mother's love in the favourite son. That was Prince Andrew and her inability to deal with it quickly enough.
Are you saying that Queen Elizabeth covered some of this up?
100%. When that picture...
Can I bring our current king into this as well?
Well, he was trailing in his mother's wake. They've never been close, him and Andrew. But at the same time, I think you're not going to be chomping at the bit to hang up your brother to dry as soon as your mother's dead, are you? So I think to an extent...
I don't know. I mean, this is the royal family. Who knows?
Indeed. But if you look... So from 2011... they were asked about that picture and Andrew's association with the late Virginia Dufresne, and it was just total blockage, like denial, actually. So it was a sort of rebuff on a major level. Now, bearing in mind that most journalists who write about the royal family rely on a relationship with the palace in some form or another. So if you're being not just held at arm's length, but told, go away, this is a nothing story, then it leaves you really with nowhere to go, because the cup that you sip from is the palace and your relationship with the palace. And they did everything they could to bury the story, and it's come back to royally bite them on the ass. Now, the good money, by the way, is in which month will Andrew move to Sandringham, because he doesn't have to move till October. Who's going to leave first? Keir Starmer from number 10 or Andrew from the Royal Lodge?
Peter Hitchens cares nothing for the royal family, so I'm going to scoot over for a few words.
I think we should have a monarchy without a monarch.
Wonderful. How's that going to work?
Well, you have somebody called the Lord Chamberlain or something, who is a retired admiral, and you give him a sword, and he knights people, and he has a nice residence, and he greets foreign heads of state. And he occupies that area which politicians must never be allowed to occupy, of horse-drawn carriages and grandeur, and keeps them from getting into it. And you carry on like that. I think we work very well, as long as you can find the right admiral. And if he's the wrong admiral, then you can fire him and get a general instead. It really isn't very difficult. It's completely the ideal solution. The main function of the monarchy is to keep politicians out of the ceremonial, grand areas of politics.
How long will King Charles cling on to the crown, Michael?
I think as long as he lives. I think he's done pretty well. I mean, he's been very open, very honest, I think admirably so, about his cancer. He's been very energetic, even when undergoing treatment. He's voiced a number of opinions that a lot of people now agree with on the environment, on all kinds of things like that, that everyone mocked him for 20 years ago.
Rightly.
Well, no, I think no, not at all rightly. I mean,
his environmental opinions are, how shall I put it, contentious, which they shouldn't be, and probably mistaken. Which we could argue about, but weren't. But he is supposed to be an impartial monarch without politics. He should not have got involved in that.
Oh, come on! I think if we're going to be fair,
him for that.
The green story has become political now because everyone's like, "Are you anti or pro net zero?" But when he started talking to plants and transplanting Transylvania into high growth, it was niche.
Well, you're talking
at best.
plants, that's fine. But the moment you start heading towards net zero, then it's very, very distinct area of politics, and the royal family have adopted it, and a number of other things as well, and they tend to adopt quite seriously left-wing positions, and they're not supposed to. And if they do so, then they endanger themselves. And what they've also done with Andrew is by caving into the great fuss and joining in the pylon, they've actually encouraged the very people who hate them anyway. This hasn't stopped because he's cut Andrew loose. It hasn't stopped at all.
No,
it's intensified.
It
won't. And
stopped.
I said at the time that it wouldn't. It's only encouraged them.
Because the finger of blame
you
has
give them a tiny bit
to
of blood
point
in the
somewhere,
water,
doesn't
and there'll be
it?
more of it.
I'm going to move on, sorry, Tessa, because we've got loads to get through. Next up, war and no peace just yet. We can talk about the war in Gaza between Israel and Hamas. We can talk about Ukraine as well. You know, all year President Zelensky has been speaking with Western allies to galvanise support for Ukraine, particularly because President Trump has tried to solve a peace deal and at the same time withdrawn his support for Ukraine. Here is Zelensky. Oh, sorry, Starmer. As supporting
the war
Zelensky.
in Ukraine has had a huge impact, particularly on the Ukrainians who've borne the brunt of it, but it's also had an impact on Europe and on the United Kingdom. There's not a family or community that hasn't been affected. And when we talk about security, we're talking about the security not just of Ukraine, we're talking about the security of Europe and the United Kingdom as well, which is why this is such an important issue.
There you go. I think that's enough for Keir Starmer, isn't it?
Often.
I'm going to go quite briefly on this because there's no big revelation really that any of us can make apart from the war in Ukraine will continue. Michael Binyon, just give me your assessment on whether these assets will be released, these frozen Russian assets held in Belgium, whether that will make a big difference. Will the peace plan that's currently being negotiated work? Where do we go next?
Well, we go all over the place because I think the Europeans, and particularly Germany, is determined to use these assets to rebuild Ukraine as well as pay for what they need for their continuation of the war. Trump is determined to stop it because he's in cahoots with Putin, and Putin thinks it's his money, and Trump sort of talking about international law, and this sets a precedent, and people might confiscate American assets and this kind of thing. Trump is at every stage, I think, undercutting everything Europe has tried to do to bolster Zelensky. Trump
is
doesn't
it the
like
biggest
him.
obstacle to peace? Forget about Putin.
Well,
is Trump the biggest obstacle to
Trump
peace?
is certainly the biggest obstacle to unified Western position. He's not in agreement with anybody else on this, and I think it goes back to a long-held grudge over Zelensky himself, and that goes back to
You still think it goes down
Well,
to...
I think it does. He doesn't like
Hunter
Zelensky.
Biden's laptop.
Yes, exactly. And the fact that Zelensky wouldn't play ball in giving Trump dirty news or dirty information on what Hunter Biden's son, may or may not have been doing in Ukraine, which he wanted to make part of his election campaign. And, of course, for that, Trump got impeached, and that didn't go down very well with him at all. And, he holds a grudge. But I don't think that Trump's moving, we don't know where he is. What I predict is that I'm afraid Trump will do his best to get a deal one way or the other at the expense of Ukraine, and that poor old Ukraine is really caught. They don't have the money, they don't have the manpower, they cannot continue for very much longer. They're suffering. They know they're suffering. They've been very valiant, but they're going to be pushed back, further back. They may even lose those key fortress towns on the eastern flank. And I think, I predict there will be a deal within this year, and it won't be a deal that Ukraine could
that
live
favours
with.
Ukraine. Peter, I'm going to turn to you on Gaza. There was a significant development this year. Both sides agreed a ceasefire after more than 2 years of devastating conflict. Hostages were exchanged, humanitarian aid resumed, but the ceasefire is stalled at phase 1. There are still attacks on Gaza as well, by the way, both sides accusing each other of violations. What happens next?
I haven't the faintest idea. The whole thing's been pursued with such irrationality by the Israeli government since the pogrom of October the 7th that it's very difficult to do anything other than stand back and gape in horror at what's going on. The large-scale killing of civilians in Gaza is, to me, as it is everywhere, appalling and unacceptable. I think is the mildest word I can use. Indefensible, and wholly unnecessary, and will in the long term have achieved nothing. But the nature of the debate on this is that you either have to be on the, which I'm absolutely not, the from the river to the sea support Hamas faction, or you have to be in the let's all support Netanyahu faction, and I am in neither. And as a result, I'm voiceless. There is no part of the debate in which I could take part at all. It just is. It's hopeless for me, and I see nothing but death and despair, and more of it coming, and resentment and enmity, and I'm just astounded that it's gone on so long, and the weakness of the United States in dealing with it from the start. It was astounding to me.
Okay,
I think it's astounding the way in which it has fed into the phenomena that is dog whistle politics, to the extent that we now see appalling hate crimes, murders in the free world, the impact of which is going to impeach us already on our freedoms, our freedom to march, our freedom to use slogans. And I'm deeply worried about the way in which we can now weaponise conflicts in other areas, and it can bleed into our own political discourse to encourage unquestioningly more authoritarian governance, even from and including a Labour government. We've already had in our history, I think, two of the most authoritarian Home Secretaries under the last Labour Conservative administration, with Priti Patel and Suella Braverman. And now what have we got? I can't say global intifada, or I can't put up a sign about Palestine Action, which the last time I checked wasn't a terrorist group insofar as it didn't attack individuals, but rather the property of state. And I love the way that we're increasingly locking people up when we know we don't have any prison space. Yeah. So where are they going to go? Are you going to open your box room for somebody?
So the ripple effects are huge. You talked about Donald Trump, and is he a help or a hindrance? He thinks he's worthy of a Nobel Peace Prize, of course.
Every time I end a war, they say if President Trump ends that war, he's going to get the Nobel Prize. So I end that war. Well, he won't get it for that war, but if he ever gets it for the next war, now they're saying if he ever ends the war with Russia and Ukraine, he's going to get the Nobel Prize. What about the other 8 wars? India, Pakistan. Think of all the wars I ended. I should get the Nobel Prize for every war, but I don't want to be greedy. Actually, the woman who got the Nobel Prize said, "You've got to be kidding. Trump deserves the Nobel Prize." So that was very nice of her. I appreciate it, which is true.
Government by narcissism.
It's good to hear
let's just
what he actually
round up
thinks, isn't
our view of 2025 by talking about Donald Trump and his first year in administration. We can't not talk about this. He has, I haven't got the number here, but he has issued an extreme number of executive orders, probably something already similar to what he did in the whole of his first administration. He continues to dictate the script as he wishes. He continues to say what he likes. I mean, we heard the address last night where he didn't mention any of the tricky issues and instead talked about how 2026 was going to be an absolutely stellar year for the economy, quoting statistics that we'd not heard before. But let's just overview this. Was this always what we were going to get from Donald Trump? Is this an absolute abhorrence to any kind of leadership, democracy, accountability? How do we sum up Donald Trump's first year? Michael Binyon.
absolute chaos. I mean, he changes his mind every week or so. He denies what he said.
But he has got a lot done.
He has got a lot done. He's
I don't
super
think it's
active.
chaotic, is it?
It is pretty chaotic because it isn't consistent, and he loses interest in issues. I mean, he does some things that by chance tend to be very useful. He certainly draws attention to issues that have been lying dormant for quite a long time, stirs it up, gets people upset or eager or angry or whatever it is, and then something gets done. As for ending
So it's
all
like a
these...
pussycat at a keyboard.
Yes,
Eventually they're going to type out a word.
And ending these wars, I mean, the two that have started up within minutes of him saying they're ending them. The one in Central Africa between Rwanda, Democratic Republic of Congo, they're going at it just as much as they did when he said they've ended it. And the other one, Cambodia and Thailand, there's no peace there at all. I mean, it just is a claim among many other claims that seems not just hyperbole, but pure fiction.
Okay, I've got a minute, so 30 seconds each for Peter and Tessa, just to tell us what you make of Trump's first year. Has he got an admirable? An admirable amount of work done?
I think you have to, the way to understand Donald Trump is to look at him mainly as a domestic politician and realise that what he's doing is aimed at a domestic audience and at the third term, which I think he will try to obtain.
Okay, Tessa.
I find it entirely incoherent that he thrashes Europe for not contributing more to NATO and to the defence of Europe's security at the same time as he encourages the rise of right-wing parties, for example, in Romania, ADF in Germany, and yet they are precisely the parties that would appease Putin. It doesn't make sense, because he doesn't make sense.
Let's take a final thought on 2025 from each of our guests. Tessa Dunlop.
This is meant to be the era of strong men, but can I remind you that the new Archbishop of Canterbury, about to be appointed, already a bit controversial, Sarah Mullally, and the first time ever in 116 years, head of the MI6, another woman, blazing a trail, none other than Blaise Machiavelli. Very challenging name, but nonetheless.
Georgian name.
Yes, Peter Hitchens.
Well, I would like to know why it is that it is in Britain's interests to sustain an unending war in Ukraine, because nobody can tell me. Every other war in the history of the century, the ones of my lifetime, the Vietnam War, the Iraq War, the Suez episode, there was debate about these things. About this, there is no debate. The war is right. We have to have it. We have to keep it going till kingdom come, or even if it turns into the Third World War. I never hear, and I'm not allowed in many places even to debate the nature or purpose of this war.
You can debate that with us here on the show.
Okay, well,
Michael
let's
Binyon?
do it then.
Well, I suppose the thing that is saddening and probably very topical right now is the decline in the reputation and in the trustworthiness of doctors. The fact that they're going on strike at a time of flu, and they have been agitating for something that most people say absolutely absurd, with a 26% rise, then 29%, and then asking for 26. Another. I mean, come on.
So you think long-term
reputation to doctors, and doctors should be the most respected people in society.
I'm giving you a cracker. These are our Christmas cracker questions. Tessa, you can...
But I wouldn't... I mean, but just being honest,
I
just was thinking about being a doctor and examining and growing toenails. I mean, I don't think that they should be paid that much.
If you dip your hand, Tessa,
I take the thing out of the
It's already
Binyon,
pre-pulled.
too. Dip your hand in.
We're not going to pull a cracker. It's not going to make a bang.
No, I'm sorry, because they've been pulled
You're
already.
giving a second-hand cracker.
Oh, it's a joke. Is it a cracker joke?
No, it is. It is a question to which you must promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Oh, my goodness. Mine is, do you still believe in democracy? Yes, but it's suffering and it's in trouble. Of course I believe in it.
Tessa?
Has my life ever been in real danger? Every day when I'm behind the wheel, if I'm honest.
What about the other people?
So basically driving on Britain's roads.
And also crossing them. I find the 20-mile-an-hour limit has saved my life twice.
But you don't ever feel that you've been targeted?
Oh no, the most exciting time of my life was when potentially there was great interest in me just after the revolution and the rise of the Iron Curtain, and I was travelling as a 17-year-old, and the border guards between Bulgaria and Romania undid my suitcase and couldn't get over tampons. But it turned out to be something of a kind of icebreaker with no language involved. Yes. Props.
I knew
uniformed men.
Fluffy mice
They
things
thought they were
had a
radioactive.
and not just for roller skating either.
I haven't got a
Peter
question.
Hitchens. Oh, okay. So Tessa, you can
share mine.
Pass another one over.
Another question.
Here's a question.
There are more questions.
Okay, all right. I have questions now, more questions than I need or want. Who's the most high-profile person I've ever had dinner with? Well, if you could describe it as dinner, in which case it would be Margaret Thatcher.
Oh,
But it wasn't really dinner. We were on the same airplane, sitting around the same table. But I wouldn't. That's as far as I go.
that's nice, being around a table on an aeroplane. Have another go, Tessa.
As the most garrulous person in the world, whose nickname was Gabby at school, what do you think the answer to this question is going to be? Have you ever gone undercover? No.
No.
And nobody would ask me to. What was really interesting was I was reading the new head of MI6's CV, what we know of it, because of course she's been undercover her entire life, it would appear.
But there's no record of her.
No, it's really interesting. But she was head girl of Westminster School.
Yes.
And I was the only non-prefect at my school in sixth form. So I feel that's absolute proof that I was never going to be a spy.
Have you ever gone undercover, Pete?
No,
Michael
well,
Binyon?
everybody tells me I have a very loud voice, and the moment I went undercover, they say, I can hear Binyon down the street.
Have you ever been? Okay. Have you ever been approached by intelligence services? Because your CV includes
Everybody
periods in
thinks I'm MI6.
Lebanon, Russia.
Yes, the School of Arabic in Lebanon. Yes, that's where
you've got a
all the
right CV for it.
If I said no, would you believe me?
No, I don't think I would.
would.
Peter Hitchens, have you ever gone undercover? Have you ever been approached by an intelligence agency?
I've watched by MI5 when I was a Trotskyist a lot.
Really?
Oh, good heavens, yes. They went round about the early 1970s when revolutionary socialism exploded in the universities. Quite large numbers of people found out, ex-policemen and so forth, who looked to me as if they were rather more enthusiastic. When we wanted someone, for instance, to go and take the socialist worker to Gould Docks at 4 o'clock in the morning, they would always come.
Wow.
Whereas most of the comrades wouldn't, and I thought this was very impressive but also slightly suspicious.
I